Welcome back to Fitness Manifesto. I am one of your hosts, Kim, and joining me is
Justin. Welcome to this new show that we've started, which focuses on life, awesomeness, friendship, and fitness as a whole. You're going to love this as an audience. So we're recording this episode together in the same area at two separate computers right across from each other. And we keep having technical difficulties. So I feel very bad for our editors on this. But one of the things is we're recording where we can see each other on video. So we have monitors that are basically blocking us. I can see her and she can see me, but she keeps peeking over. And I don't know why, but I keep giggling. Kim, you're just awesome.
I'm sorry. I just feel like it's the right thing to do, to look around it. See? Even though I can see you through the monitor, it's just not the same, I guess.
Well, since you're a Star Wars house too, I think it's like one of those Luke meets Vader moments where he's like, I want to see you with my own eyes. Yes, see?
Oh, that's great. My son would appreciate that.
Part of this show is really going to be about us sharing our adventures with you, our stories, and laughing and showing that exercise doesn't have to be a pain in the ass.
Right. There is power in movement. You just got to get to that point and just say yes and show up for yourself.
Absolutely. And I will tell you, one of the biggest things that Kim says she struggles with, which always makes me giggle, is we have a part in our ride, not all of them, but most of them, called the connect piece of it. Every time I've ridden with her, she's so fantastic at it. But afterwards, she's kind of like, I don't know if that was good.
Yeah. It's kind of like you get into your feel goods there, you know, your life experiences, and to pass it on to everybody, but you're good at it too.
Again, it's one of those things that's hard for me because, as Kelly describes me, I'm a castle with a moat, with another wall, with a wall of alligators and sharks, landmines.
I don't think I've seen any of that.
Another wall.
I think I must have hopped over all of that because, I don't know, we just straight off the bat, when we were even cycling, I remember we were on the second row whenever we were, I don't even know what ride we were doing, just with the instructors. And I looked at Justin and I said, you're my ride and die through this. And he said, okay. And we fist bumped, and that was it.
And for those that aren't familiar, I mean, once you do a fist bump to that, that is binding. That is a legal, there's no going back.
It's like Blood Brothers. Does that work?
I thought you were going to say Butt Brothers, but that's something very different.
That is definitely much, much different.
That's a totally different kind of seal the deal moment. Yeah. I thought that's where you're going. And I'm like, you have a very different memory of that night than I do, but okay. Very rarely do you catch Kim speechless. That was fantastic.
Yes. It's very rarely done.
I'm going to high five myself virtually here.
There you go.
Well, Kim, as we kind of wrap up here in a few minutes, are there any tips? Because one of the things you'd mentioned before was, momentum has power, everything else.
No, movement has power.
Sorry, movement. You're right. Hey, good call. Mm-hmm. Good call.
Get with it, man.
I'm sorry. My short-term memory is fading today, I guess.
It's been a long day. We were up early.
Oh, God, yes. Especially starting with hey, can you come ride today?
Yeah. And not just ride, guys. They were like, hey, can you ride next to me on stage? I mean, it was
something. But, when you ride or you're in any kind of motion like that, right? Any sort of exercise, anything you're doing, what do you keep in the back of your mind? What motivates you?
What motivates me? I love it. I love it. I always tell my riders, the hardest part is done. You have clipped in. You showed up for yourself. You made it happen. Don't say can't, because it's not in our vocabulary. You show up for a reason, whether it is, if you're in a bad mood, your mood is going to be completely different whenever you go through those doors again. I can't explain it, just my love for it or my motivation. I mean, I love everything about it. I love the way it makes me feel. Is it good for you? Yes. Like the health aspect, I don't do it that way because I love it. Nice. I have no words. What about you? Why do you do it? What's your motivation?
Kind of similar. I love it, but I also like so I used to be a stand-up comedian, and I kind of like that interaction because it feels like I'm back on stage, but getting healthy. Okay. Which is the opposite of most stand-up comedians. Most of them, aren't healthy.
They all are heavy drinkers and smokers.
Yes. I think more Coke now, but yeah.
Yes, that's true.
And so it kind of gives me that same high again. So that's what I love about it. I love also the fact that not only do I leave feeling better, but I know that I did something positive for someone else after it. And so those combined make it so worthwhile. And so it's one of those things that, like you, I love this now. Like I really, like you asked me before, why do you even do this? It's because I love it. Like I really do enjoy it. And like even today with having to go in, I knew none of the songs except for I think one. I knew the Blank Space.
Yes, and you sang it too.
I did. You gotta do it right.
You did.
But I got up there and it's all a great time. I walked out of there afterwards feeling great. So I knew that I was in the right space, knew that I liked the team. I loved the people we were with and just had a great time. And so
Absolutely.
I think all those combined help. And I think that when we provide advice for other people, when they think about their fitness journey, getting started, or they're halfway down the pike, or they are so far down the trail and they're just trying to stay, find something new. I think that's the base that I always come back to, at least for me, is the fact to be passionate about it.
Right.
Right?
Yep, I agree with that.
Because like for me, I used to love running, and I'm supposed to be in the London Marathon on October 2nd or something like that.
You better get on it.
Well, I am, but I'm just not excited about it anymore. And I'm honestly debating about doing it or not. Not because I'm quitting, but because like I'm not as passionate about it as I once was. And so it's one of these weird phases of my life. Like, is it something that I just do to check a box because I've ran some before? Or is this something that really will have an impact on me? So I'm still juggling that.
Yeah, nope, I get that. There was a lady in this morning after that duo ride, and she was talking about cycling and how it impacts her weight loss and all of that. I told her, I said, you can't look at it that way. Don't look at a scale. Don't look at numbers. Judge it by how are your clothes fitting you. Don't be like, oh, I got to get on the scale and see if I see any movement. You can't do it that way, because if you don't see that movement, you won't want to do it anymore. And you won't like it.
100%. I think the other day you brought up a great point as well, where you had said, that most people forget, especially with cycling, even running, things where you're doing, because your leg muscles are the biggest muscle group in your body, right?
Yep.
So when you start doing these activities, you may actually gain weight, and it's not because it's because of muscle. And so a lot of people get discouraged, and I love your advice there. The scale has no place when you start out, I don't think.
No, and honestly, I don't think the scale has any place in any of it. I mean, really, because people get so wrapped up in the numbers. Don't look at the numbers. Go off. How do you feel? How are those pants that were a little snug on you? How do they feel now? Don't be like, I got to get on this scale. It's, I can't eat now because I didn't drop this weight. Don't do that to yourself, because you'll get discouraged and then you'll most likely quit.
And the whole point is to not quit, right? And I think one of the other pieces that I would go with, because I think everything you've said is fantastic, is also find something where you can achieve your goals.
Absolutely.
Right? So it's not like if you want to go to strength training, a lot of people think that, well, I want a six-pack, go to strength training. A lot of the time you can't get a six-pack if you wanted to do that in strength training, because you're not getting the cardio,
Right.
So it's about balance, it's about everything else. And so it's about really finding out what works for you and doing it. Like, don't listen to the fads. Don't listen to
don't do it.
The trends. No, find what works for you and go for it.
And find something that you enjoy and something that makes you happy. Because if you wake up and you're like, ugh, I don't want to do this today, then chances are you're not going to keep with it for very much longer. Find something that drives you, is that driving force that really motivates you to want to get up at 4:30 in the morning and go clip in for a duo ride, just, to watch our other instructors. You need to find that passion. And when you do, it will drive you to keep showing up for yourself.
100%. And I think that is just amazing advice, and something that's, I don't think it's discussed enough, right? Because we talk about everything else, but we don't talk about the real why behind all this stuff.
Right.
And I think it comes down to, because most people, especially, I know you know people like this, they give up, right? They did it for 6 months, they did it for 5 weeks, whatever it was, and then they give up.
Yep.
And the reason you give up is because it wasn't what you were really looking for. It didn't have whatever it was that you needed. So you've got to keep looking. Don't give up on fitness. Find the right fitness routine for you.
Right. And remember, I've told myself this for many, many years. It takes 21 days to make or break a habit. If you can stick with something for 21 days, and after that 21 days, if you're like, this is terrible, I don't like it, you don't look forward to it, you need to find something else that will drive you. Switch to a different type of fitness routine that you will wake up excited to do.
I love that advice. And on that note, I want to say This was fantastic. I had such fun today. How about you,
I
Kim?
did too. This is awesome. I love this. I love the idea of this. And yes, no, I love it.
All right, Kim. Well, I can't wait to do our next one. And to our audience out there, we want to say thank you for sticking with us this first time.
Thank you.
For those that don't know, we have 3 separate recordings of this to get
Yes,
one
we do.
episode.
It's Justin's fault.
I'd have to say 100% correct. And that concludes today's episode of the Fitness
Manifesto. I know you guys enjoyed it.
And Kim, I want to say thank you to you and to our audience for making this podcast what it is.
Yes, we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you guys.
And stay tuned for the next episode.